I didn't know it myself, but I'm kind of having like a bit of a breakdown because I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm not sure. Then Nick one day sat me down and was like, bro, you're just chatting right now. Chill out, figure out what you like. It might not come right away, but you're on the path to doing it. And like, yes, like maybe you're getting overlooked by other people, but doesn't mean you should stop what you're doing or like start stressing out. Look at what you can do immediately. So one of the things I was realizing I was good at was writing. So started writing for something I created myself, which was Words by Stowe. People were noticing it. I remember one day a guy called Ollie Danger came in and was like, you write poetry, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, you could write copy then. And I didn't even really know what copy meant.
Yeah, bro. So obviously you're like the #1 fashionista on my timeline and all of that, yeah. And if you go through your Instagram, all of these drips, the same background, new drip,
Same wall,
same wall. My first question is to you, like, how big is your wardrobe?
Oh man, it's not as big as, actually no, it's bigger than it's ever been now, let me not lie.
Yeah.
I've actually got storage, but it's not massive. A lot of the time, you've probably seen what I've worn and I've just remixed it very well, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think I learned from like a very young age to diversify what I'm wearing and then to figure out different ways to wear things as well.
Explain a bit more about that.
So in terms of like, let's keep it real, like where we are, I mean, I lived in Hackney. Houses aren't massive, do you know what I mean? A wardrobe can only be so big, really. Do you know what I mean? Even your sneaker collection, after a while, unless you're putting them in your kitchen and your bathroom and stuff, can only be so big. So you just got to think a little bit more strategically about what you're wearing. So it's like, cool, I've worn this t-shirt today. If I take a picture of it today with these shorts and these trainers, if I wear it again, it might look a bit strange, innit? But if I change like up how I've worn it today, I might place it with something a bit more smarter. Yeah. So then it just looks like something entirely different. Sometimes people approach me and like, where'd you get this from? And I'm like, you've seen this so many times. You don't even realise, Like, literally, it happens so many times. It's interesting. Especially with like things like, there was these pair of shades I bought recently from S&S. They were somebody's in collaboration with S&S and they were like on sale for like £45 or something like that. I wore them bare in Ghana, after Ghana. I got to London, like, people are like, oh, I've worn them in London as well. Everyone's like, oh, where'd you get them from? Sick. I'm like, bro, you've seen this. Like, you've seen it bare.
So it's like the whole outfit put together.
Yeah.
It's interesting because then I guess it's like, you'd have, maybe in one outfit, it's the main piece or the main draw.
And
another
a hero
one
piece
is
all the time, There's always a hero piece, There's like things you'll always see, like I'll never take off my rings. I might even change around how I wear them, but you always see that. But yeah, you're right. There is always like a hero piece that kind of stands out.
No, the rings are serious. Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I could be a fashionista.
Nah, everyone has their own style. You have your own style as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, I feel like when it comes to style and being original, my thing is my style changes. There'll be some days I want to dress like a hipster. Another day I might be a bit more preppy. Another day I just can't be bothered kind of thing. And what I realized when it comes to me for style, it's got to be comfortable.
Yes.
It's got to be easy.
Yes.
Like I don't have to think about it.
Yeah. Because then you feel forced. You're walking around looking at what you're wearing because you're
exactly.
unsure.
And I don't feel good. Do you know what I mean? Bonus points if it doesn't need ironing. Even though I'm ironing all the time, but bonus points if it doesn't iron. And another thing as well is like trousers are my enemy because
trousers or jeans?
Both.
Oh, I swear.
Trying to get, because I've got like a slim waist, big thighs.
Typical black man problem. We know.
Like it's just hard. And then like, especially jeans, bro, there was one time, I can't remember what party it was, and then I was just going through like 10, 15 pairs of jeans. And none of them could bang. My wife was just laughing at me though.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I think that's another thing as well. As you get older, you basically start to clock proportions and sizes that work for you. So like, you know, as soon as you buy a pair of denim, you know what shoes in your wardrobe drops perfectly with this. Or what shirt pairs perfectly with your denim because you know where it's going to sit waist-wise. Is it going to come down to your thigh? Is it going to sit just on the waist
I don't
as
think
well?
that. I don't think that's
it's easy because like, bro, for the most part, I don't know. People don't believe me. I'm like, a lot of the time I don't look in the mirror.
Wait, what?
I promise you, a lot of time I don't look in the mirror just because I know how well my wardrobe is kind of like set up and I know what sits well with what. Because a lot of the time it's like, it's the same proportions, just different colours basically.
So how often do you like switch up your wardrobe, go shopping? Is it you see something or do you have periods?
It's kind of like constant, but like in bits and pieces. Because I'm always seeing something that I like or whatever. I never do like a long, big haul of shopping, to be honest with you, but I'll always like find a deal, see something that I like and like pick things up. But in terms of like changing out, it's now like, are definitely benefiting from like having storage. If you can afford it, do it. It's the best thing ever. I take things out. That's for winter. That stays there basically, and I know what I'm dealing with for summer. Same thing when it comes to winter time. Take out summer, put for winter time like layers and knitwear and bigger jackets and all that kind of stuff or whatever. So yeah, it's just like really understanding what works well for you. So like I knew from like maybe, I mean, I feel like I can diversify what I like to wear, but I don't feel most comfortable in like really tight jeans. Do you know what I mean? It's just my shape and all that kind of stuff or whatever. It's like accentuate certain things that I shouldn't be accentuating personally. So like, yeah, it's a bit mad. You just know what works for your figure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So yeah, he moved from there.
When did you like notice you had an eye for say style, design, or wanted to take more time for it?
I always have to attribute things to like my parents and like my family in general. Like my mom and her brother, my uncle, like seeing pictures of them, like they've always been like stylish people. My dad as well, can't even lie, like he still has it. But then I think when I started like noticing what I liked away from what my mum styled me in was probably when I got to, I want to say college, but probably more secondary school, like maybe year 9 is when I started like turning the tide a little bit. Like, okay, cool. I see what everyone's wearing. How can I make this a little bit of my own, basically? And started like changing things a little bit. Started wearing like ties, like in school, like doing like the shirt and the jumper kind of thing as well. But then like pairing it with like dunks as well at the same time, and then like throw a blazer on there. But that's all testament to like what we was probably seeing from like Jay and Kanye and all that kind of stuff in that period where they was doing
the preppy style
kind of style things as well. And then to be honest with you, bro, as well, a lot of my style kind of exploration as like a young person in Hackney is from not wanting to be grouped with a gang, basically, to be honest with you. It's like, I know that you're probably gonna see somebody in a tracksuit and assume they're on something or mistakenly catch them for something. If I'm wearing all these colours and if I'm wearing it a different way, you can't even see me at this point.
But that's interesting because you could think it conversely, right? In the sense that me wearing all these bright colours, I'm essentially making myself available to be rubbed. Do you know what I mean?
So, I mean, yeah, there is that as well. But I think there also is like, you have your street smart as well. So it's like, I'm going to be noticed, but I'm going to be aware, and I'm not going to be present in places that I know that things are going to happen like that. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, obviously it can happen anywhere, but like, I'm making sure, okay, cool. When I'm in school, if I'm in Mare Street, if I don't need to be by like Grove or by Clapton or whatever it is, like for any reason, I just don't need to be there. Do you get what I mean? And if I am, I'm in someone's house or I'm with people who like, you know, everyone kind of respects, so I can get obliged to kind of move freely how I want. And again, I'm not associated with like my area in that way. Like I love Hackney, but no one can say that I'm banging for
gang banger.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like that has never been me. Do you get what I'm saying? So yeah, I think I've always had the freedom for that. And I will say as well, the confidence in which you do something allows you to kind of move more freely. So like, I remember like walking through Broadway in slimmer jeans or what was it at the time? People wearing plimsolls and some of those American Apparel hoodies and some of the Topshop ones and getting looks, but then you have to be confident in what you're wearing because as soon as you could be like a slight look that you give yourself that opens the door to, why are you wearing that, bro? Yeah. Like, why just, and it's like, everyone just accepts like how I dress now. Like they know it's different. They might make banter a little bit, but it won't go further than that.
Well, that's the thing because you talk about confidence, and in the confidence to be unique and individual in the style of clothing that you're wearing. Yeah. How did you build up your confidence to express yourself that way?
I think a lot of it was in being sure of myself first. So I think for like a lot of when I was in primary school and then going into like year 7, year 8, I wasn't sure of myself. And then there was a period of like being called names and being bullied as well. And then I don't know what the switch was, if I'm honest with you. I think I started finding out what I loved to do in terms of like, not even like career-wise, just kind of things I enjoyed doing, things I love listening to, and then started to really like have a different picture of myself aesthetically to like the point where I was like, okay, you can't tell me that I don't look good because I know I'm fire right now. Do you know what I'm saying? And then you start to explore more and then you feel comfortable in it. Then you find kind of like your community in that sense as well. So I started finding people who liked like similar things as well. So there's a guy I met when I started going to KICC called Agostino, And he showed me brands like 12 Bar and Supreme and Hundreds and 10 Deep at the time. And then a friend of mine called Lammy, like she was really into like going to Camden and like seeing a bit more alternative things basically. So you find kind of, I don't know if it's solace with like other people and like thinking, okay, cool, I'm not alone in these thoughts basically.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a community of people who think similarly, might not be exact same way, but we have these things in common. And then you just kind of like, you cut through and you're just like, you know what, I can stay in this path by myself. Anyone who wants to question me, you can. I'm still going to dress the same. I'm not going to change how I'm dressing tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I like that. I like that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then did you ever imagine yourself working in the industry that you're in?
It's funny. I think I had different phases of like different things I thought I could do. I'm pretty sure like at one point I wanted to start a brand. I'm pretty sure at one point I wanted to be, I don't know, probably some kind of creative director or social media something. But I just didn't know what was available in terms of like what was possible. And also I didn't know who's who, like where do I go to speak to these people? A lot of things didn't seem very accessible, if that makes sense. But then as time went on, started like putting myself out there even more. Like I started going into stores, speaking to people, finding out about things, understanding like the inner workings of like some places as well. But then at the same time, it's like this is around like college time, going to college, about to go for uni. My mum's not judgmental, but also they need to see something. But then also the aunties around are gonna be like, oh, so what's your son doing?
What's he studying?
You know what I'm saying? It's like, am I gonna say, oh, I want to be in streetwear and fashion? And it's like, I don't even know what I'm talking about at this point. It's like I like it, but I don't know what's there. So it's like this is where I wasn't so confident. I'd say is where I followed a path of just being in education that didn't potentially go in a direction that it could have gone. Because I feel like everybody should be in education, but follow a path that has an end goal to what you want to do. So a lot of creatives or a lot of fashion people are great at thinking, but when it comes to business, they lack. And not everyone can do everything, but like I feel like there should be foundations of everything. Do you know what I mean? So like a lot of brands will get themselves into heavy debt. A lot of shops will get themselves into heavy debt. A lot of people don't know how to handle money, taxes and all that kind of stuff. Things I'm still finding out about right now, to be honest with you. You'll read about like different things as well from people as well. Like it's not a secret. You've probably seen like maybe a write-up in the cut about Pierre Moss. Like he was definitely the shining example for like what a black designer was supposed to be in this new age. And then like finances were looking a bit crazy, like wasn't paying people correctly and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, it's just, it's one of those things that I wish I had more of a steer on. And like, I studied forensic chemistry and applied science, and like, those were just like tick boxes to just like...
Those are big tick boxes.
They're big tick boxes, yeah. And I wasn't particularly an expert in any of them, to be honest with you. But these are just things that I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to go college and study this or whatever. I struggle through it, but like, I don't want anyone to try and say I'm not doing anything or anything substantial with my life, or have my mum feeling like she has to answer in a certain way when people are asking. And for the most part, those people are always going to talk. Like there's an auntie that asked me the other day, like I saw her at Tesco, and she's always done this thing of like, oh, so what are you doing now? Like, why are you not studying forensics? Like, I don't want to study forensics. Like,
I don't want to.
It's done. It's been like 10 years, bro. Like, let it go. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. But like I clocked, like especially with Nigerians, the way you have to like shut them up is say something extravagant. Like she's about to say, oh, how's work? I'll be like, just came back from Copenhagen. She's like, you're traveling. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? And to them,
it's like the status of what you're doing is more important than what you're doing.
Do you get what I'm saying? I tell her like, I didn't even say Copenhagen. I said, I just been traveling. Bro, I could have been going to Birmingham. That's all she knows. But it sounded huge in her eyes. Do you get what I'm saying? And a lot of the time, like our culture is amazing, but a lot of it is flexing for other people's sake, and rather than like kind of looking at what you love to do, basically, unfortunately. But I think that period, I wouldn't take it back. I just wish I did it differently.
Well, I mean, because you've done your degree in forensic chemistry. So did you feel pressure to follow that route? Or was it just like...
When I was in the class, I did. I think I was surrounded by some super scary, smart people. Yeah. Like people that know pi to the power of whatever. I don't know why they know these figures, basically. They were just really, really intelligent. And I just, as a black man, as a guy from Hackney, I was like, I don't want to be the dumbest in the class. Yeah. But like, I couldn't keep up. Do you get what I'm saying? I was barely like getting through. But it was definitely a pressure to kind of like stay on it. Like you started something, you need to complete it. Like you can't be that person that's like, dropped out, because a lot of people dropped out that course. It was not a joke.
Yeah, so, you don't need that person.
Do you know what I mean? But for the most part, I also didn't want to let my parents down, man. Do you know what I mean? Like I basically fought to get into the course. are going away as the first person in my house to like, well, not first person in my house, but one first of my siblings to go to uni as well. I'm the oldest as well, so it's like got to kind of set a precedent as well. So there was that pressure as well. But it was really interesting while I was at uni. I was really friendly with these guys from UAE, like really, really, really great guys. And obviously, I think they were aware of certain things that I was wearing, but they noticed like you know, you wear shoes that are a little bit different to everyone else's. They're like, you should be doing fashion. And I used to get offended.
Really?
Yeah, because I was like, you're trying to say I'm not smart enough for this course, basically. But they saw what, like, was quite evident to them. It's like, you don't belong in this course. Like, and it wasn't even a rude thing, but because I was lacking confidence in, like, what I was supposed to be, what I was doing, I saw it as, like, an insult, basically. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's interesting. That's interesting, though, because they saw what everyone else can see.
Yeah.
But they had the confidence to say to you, like, why are you not doing what you're clearly born to do?
Yeah.
You know
but at the same time, it's like, I still didn't know what I could do in that space as well. So it's like, okay, I'll do that, and what do I do though?
What next?
What I mean? Yeah, what next? I can't design, like and I didn't think about all the other things that you could do within this space, basically. It wasn't second nature at the time.
So then upon the graduation, did you try and get a job within forensic chemistry?
I did. I think it's funny. I was trying to at one point. I almost was thinking, yeah, I'm gonna work for the police. Like, it's crazy. So like, I was. I mean, obviously, like, I love my area and I love everyone I grew up with as well. And obviously, I'm very aware of like how we relate to law enforcement as a people. And I was like, I can be the person that changes that. Do you know what I mean? If it just needs somebody that understands from where we're from. Yeah. And I remember speaking to a couple of people who were just like, it makes sense, but like, you know, the police in the UK, especially in London, they do have like, you know, a racist kind of connotation to them as well. Not all, but it's definitely there. So like my mate was sending me articles of people who were like arrested and like made it into cells and didn't come out alive. People who were arrested on the roads and like, you know, beaten to a pulp and all that kind of stuff. And obviously you're aware of these things, but then like you're thinking this happens in America. Do you get what I'm saying? But then you're seeing it happening in Brixton, in Hackney, and it's like, this is kind of mad basically. But then also just speaking to people just like, you know, what about if somebody like, you know, from the area decided to work with the police? And some of the responses were like, nah, man, like this and the other. Like, well,
it's an interesting dilemma though, because I do feel like someone needs to do it from the area.
Someone 100% needs to do it. Do you get what I'm saying?
Because yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, do I know any police officers? I think I know one person, but I don't even know what type of police officer he is.
It's tough, man. Yeah. It's tough. And like, even there's a friend of mine. He's currently working for the police, but he's still a bit like keep it hush kind of thing, basically.
That's what I feel. I feel like if someone black or from the culture joins the police, I feel like the police culture dilutes them. Yeah. And so they no longer become an asset for us. The force, but they're an asset for the force. Yeah. Instead,
I think, I mean, it probably, you're right. It probably dilutes them. More it might work the other way as like, if you're seen as this person that's trying to penetrate a change, are you for us or are you against us on the police side? So then you might find yourself in another danger with your team, basically. Like, okay, cool, like we're out on a job, but we're not going to back you because you're for...
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? When things happen. So that's another madness as well. But I remember I went on this training thing and it was about like becoming a police person or whatever. And I remember speaking to this mixed race girl and I was asking the question like, what's it like when you live in an area like a Hackney or just area of crime or whatever at the time or whatever, and you're part of the police? And everyone was giving me these funny like fairy tale answers, and like she was the only one that understood. She was like, yeah, I grew up in an area like that. My mum's been a police superintendent or whatever it is, and I got bullied a lot in school. Do you know what I'm saying? She was like, it's not easy, it's tough. Do you know what I'm saying? So she gave me a right answer, and then also I did like this training of like it was like a fitness test and a competency test as well. Just super easy, and I was just like, this is light work. It. Yeah, I was like, I even said to him, I was like, don't you think this training is a bit easy? Like, it works for us, and I was like, I don't know if it does, like, kind of thing. But yeah, that dream went away because I was like, I think I'm trying to hold the weight of the world on my shoulders, and like this fight isn't for me. I don't feel confident to like step into space. Do you know what I mean? I feel like a lot of people I'm around wouldn't feel comfortable around me. Do you know what I mean? In the community.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
And then you can't be showing off your drip as well.
Yeah, it's true. Probably have to have a private Instagram at that point. Do you know what I mean? Very different.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So then, because I imagine, even though you decided to not go that route, because it sounded like you put a lot of pressure on yourself during university to make sure that you finished the course in itself, right? were you feeling a little bit disappointed then? That you
Yeah,
couldn't
I
lay
think
your
I
finger on
was
it?
because everyone was like getting jobs in like labs or in the force and all this kind of stuff or whatever, and I was just like, what am I gonna do, kind of thing. And then I just started applying for jobs randomly, like just whatever was there, and I was like, I don't want to go into retail, man. Like I've been working retail from like college or whatever, and I was like, I need to land something or whatever. But after a while, I was like, I just need to work.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean? So picked up a retail job, and then I was just like, just kind of in a space of like, I don't know what I'm actually doing right now. Do you know what I mean? So I remember I was working for Calvin Klein at uni, in the like underwear, kind of one of their stores. It was just underwear. Then like I got a transfer out to the London store on Regent Street and moved there. And in that period, kind of like started to open my eyes up to a few things. So then there was a J. Crew that opened next door. And I was like, okay, J. Crew's pretty cool. They have like a lot of these exclusive New Balance, like limited to J. Crew. They have the Nike Kill Shot, great shoes. They have a lot of suit and tailor and stuff, like really, really cool American store. I was like, let me go work there for a bit. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing here still as well. Do you know what I'm saying? I'm enjoying this, and I was like, what do I do with it? Then I started meeting people, and I met one particular guy called Lego, real good friend of mine now. And I remember seeing his blog posts, and he was working in the basement at the time, like in the stockroom. And I remember before he told me his name, we were just talking, and he was like, oh, by the way, I'm Lawrence, so people call me Lego. And I was like, Mr. Lego. I was like, what are you doing here? He was like, bro, it's just one of them stops in life basically that happens or whatever. So I learned a lot from him. There's a lot that I took from him. There's a guy called Nicholas Walter, who I met along the way as well. And they started to expose to me like agency life or working in a store that wasn't just a store, that was more like a boutique where you could essentially activate things on your own as well, where they had closer relationship with the brands as well. So Present at the time was one of those stores that was the only store that sold Stone Island, Shadow Project, sold CP Company and like 10C, which is another kind of offshoot of those designers. A lot of Japanese brands as well. But because they were so close to the brands, it was easy to be like, okay, new collections coming in, let's do like a party. Let's do a rollout. Let's post on social media in a certain way with like some of the styling and all that kind of stuff. So started getting involved in that slowly. And I was like, okay, cool. There's something here that can be created. And then like it just eventually got me in a space where I started speaking to agencies as well. And then like from there, then my eyes was like, okay, cool. I kind of know where I'm going now. But before that, there was periods of like, okay, I'm having a breakdown basically. But not, I didn't know it myself, but I'm kind of having like a bit of a breakdown because I'm like, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'm not sure. Then Nick one day sat me down and was like, bro, you're just chatting shit right now. Like, chill out, figure out what you like basically. It might not come right away, but you're on the path to doing it. And like, yes, like maybe you're getting overlooked by other people or whatever, but doesn't mean you should stop what you're doing or like start stressing out. Do you get what I'm saying? He was like, look at what you can do immediately. So one of the things I was realizing I was good at was writing. So started writing for something I created myself, which is Words by Stowe. There's a page where I just literally put my poetry on there, but I was doing things like on old phones and stuff like that, whatever, really short pieces, and people were noticing it in a small way. I think the page probably has less than 500 followers, but it got me the attention. It got the attention of an agency that put me on an Adidas project that really changed the trajectory of like everything, and I found out
Just like that.
Yeah, it wasn't even immediate though, but it was like, I remember one day a guy called Ollie Danger came in and was like, I've got this project, you write poetry, right? And I was like, yeah. He was like, oh, you could write copy then. And I didn't even really know what copy meant. Do you know what I mean? So he was like, oh, we've got this project, Parley, Adidas, we need to write about how we can get people in the city to care about the sea. And it's like, I don't even care about the sea. Like, I don't see it. So it's like, but I just saw it as like, I'm writing a poem. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like, okay, write it in a way that's catchy, it rhymes or whatever, and it done really well. Became like a kind of mission statement for the project, and it was across stores, there was a video for it and all that kind of stuff. And then my eyes were open to that, okay, I could be a creative strategist because I can write, I can think of ideas as well, and I can really navigate in this space. But before that, I was just like, I don't know what there is to do here, kind of thing. And I was applying for things, I was getting angry that I weren't getting them, but in hindsight now, it's like, probably was writing bullshit on those CVs. Basically, if you got into those roles, you might have got fired. Doesn't matter. Do you know what I mean?
But I thought you got to give it a shot, right?
No, 100%. 100%. You got to give everything a shot and just find out and figure out. But I remember like kind of seeing roles and I'm like, that person doesn't deserve it. I should be in that position. And it's like, that's the worst thing you can do, start comparing yourself. Do you know what I mean? What's for you won't pass you, I think, as long as you're working consistently.
How did you try and like train your mind for that?
Oh, it took time, bro. Like, it took time. I would say it wasn't just me. It's definitely, again, a lot of people that were in support. Like, again, Lego, Nick, even Ollie, mate of Michael, Ben. There's a lot of people who were like supporting in that way. I remember there was a role at Converse that came out, and I was told about it, and I was like, yeah, I think I've got this. Like, I sent my CV to my mates. So I was like, yeah, sick. Went for the interview. I was being asked questions that I thought were really interesting at the time, and I don't know. I can say now that I don't think they were the most progressive questions to get the role.
I need to know more.
Yeah, it was interesting questions. Let's just leave it there, basically. But yeah, they weren't the most progressive questions at the time.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe I just wasn't prepared to like answer them as well. But obviously, every interviewer can answer questions in different ways, obviously. But I answered to the best of my ability, and maybe I didn't as well at the same time. But I don't know if they were the most like progressive questions to ask at the time. But I didn't get the position, and I knew someone that did, and I was like, how? Like, do you know what I'm saying? And I kept like, I was going over it for time, and I remember my mate Ben came in, he was like, look, man, like, where you're at now doesn't mean that you can't go past this role right now. Like, they know what they're looking for. You're not that person right now, but your journey is probably past this role. And thank God I didn't get that job because maybe I would have been trapped in kind of like I don't know, like a tunnel of like just seeing what was in front of me, or might have got frustrated and got fired. Like, who knows? Do you know what I mean? I think the journey definitely was just picking up then, and there was a lot for me to learn in that space, and I needed to stay there for some time.
Yeah, and because it sounds to me as well, where you were at the time, you're working around, say, the ones who make the decisions.
Oh man, yeah, it was like,
and collaborating with a lot of different brands. So
it was great. Yeah, it was a great time. I mean, even just like seeing people that came through the door. I say it all the time at Present. We saw Virgil come through. We saw Nike teams come through. We saw Tommy Hilfiger teams come through. I remember the owners of Avrex came through at one point. It was just a lot of teams coming through, people taking pictures of things at the store, because it was quite unique at the time in terms of the mix of like, you can get to the front of the store, there's chocolate, but it's chocolate-shaped tools. Like, no, it's tool-shaped chocolate. There was like expensive tuners. There was like really good books at the front from like Rizzoli. It was just like a very well curated and like store full of culture, and taste level was high. Do you know what I mean?
Is it still available now?
It's not it's no longer there. It was where Carhartt is on Shoreditch High Street, just across from SNS. But yeah, it was a great time. I mean, I met Just Blaze there, like Daniel C. It was a really, really random store, like just to kind of like meet people. Like, I don't know if you remember the brand called Palladium.
Yeah. Them boots. Everyone had them boots.
So we were stocking them, and then like they were like, "Oh, do you guys want to come out to Berlin Fashion Week?" I was like, "Yeah, cool." So they flew us out. But this is me working in the store. Do you know what I mean? Everything paid for. Sitting down at the show, met the son who plays a role in Breaking Bad. He was walking in the show. It was such like random things like that was happening basically, but it's great experience as well. Like, but again, if I'd taken that role at Converse, maybe there's things I wouldn't have seen or things I wouldn't have been exposed to. I feel like things I learned at Present or things I understand from Present still help me to this day.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? There's a taste level and just things that you don't shake off you, and I think I'm grateful for it.
It's interesting as well because you've essentially become like a copywriter now.
Yeah.
And so you're doing that whilst being in the scene and getting the clothes.
Yeah.
Were you really defining, say, what your style is and what you're about?
So again, sorry?
Like, so because you were being a copywriter, and then you're working in the store, you're understanding your style. So were you like really getting your understanding of, say, what your skill set is and how you create?
100%. So like so once I understood that I was essentially a copywriter, I kind of understood what type of copy I could write. I wasn't a long form writer because just traditionally that wasn't like the school of thought that I was coming from. It was more like on the creative copy side, so like a bit more sharp and snappy, but I realized I like to write things that I enjoyed as well. And like, how can I put it? If there was like a very corporate approach to it, I was no good in it, basically. So I remember I wrote for the Drop Date for some time. Very few of those posts were good. A lot of them were very bad. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And they were honest with me. They was like, you shouldn't be honest anymore. You should be doing this kind of stuff or whatever. But there were some posts that I did for like YouTube or drinks brands and all that kind of stuff or whatever that were very short and snappy and to the point, basically. But then also, again, like you said, there was things I was learning at the store whilst writing copy, learning about myself, and also about style as well. That was very interesting as well. The store was very much a school of style. Like, you came in and you dressed well.
You had to.
Yeah, like, it wasn't even like a set rule, but like, you knew you had to like step the level up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, and you'd get comments if you kind of looked a bit off key as well, kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? But like, everyone was at like, they had their own style. You couldn't copy someone too much because like, you get a bit of a
look there.
You know what I'm saying? You get a bit of a look. It's like, right, like you've been.
Well, that's the thing, because with clothing and originality, but also borrowing, say, some elements of people, like, how do you not know?
Yeah,
how do you
nothing's
know?
100%
Nothing's 100%.
Yeah.
But how do you know that your style is your style and not like copy from somebody else, if that makes sense?
I always say, I think most people, they might not be able to see it, but everyone's inspired by things that they see around them. Do you know what I mean? You got this great t-shirt on today. I might not wear that great t-shirt today, but I might find that color because I'm like, it looks good. We've got similar skin tone. It looks good. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. So I might find some joggers like that or some trainers in that colorway or whatever, and you've inspired my style right away. Do you get what I'm saying? So, but then there's also like, if I'm wearing a blazer, I'm wearing a t-shirt and some shorts and I don't know, some loafers, and you wear the same thing tomorrow, you just copy my style, bro. Like, you actually just copy my style. You're not even trying now. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? But you can switch it up a little bit. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you can't say you own, like, you know, wearing the blazer. Do you get what I'm saying? Nobody can say that. But there's ways to switch it around. Get a different color. Maybe get oversized if you like or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, twist up the flipping lapel if you like. Do you get what I'm saying? Little things, little bits and pieces, accessorize it or whatever. But I think there's ways to diversify it enough for people to not be like, okay, cool, you don't even have your own.
But what about now though, like in the general scene? Because it does feel like a lot of people are dressing the same.
I feel like we're in a clone period, man. It's it's a bit sad because I think that's mainly because as well, social media like levels everything, so we're all seeing the same thing. Whereas like before, you had to go outside, see it, or just at home figure out
what you want
to wear. But now you can like, okay, cool, I want to wear some Rick Owens shoes or whatever, but there's a particular style in which everyone's wearing Rick Owens now. So maybe even subconsciously you don't want to wear it that way, but because you've seen it so much, you end up wearing it exactly how everyone else is wearing it. So it's a great thing because I think it democratizes like how style is and like breaks the level of like, okay, cool, you can't attain this or you can't wear this or whatever. It makes it a level playing field for everybody, but at the same time, it makes it an echo chamber that's crazy. We're seeing the same things regurgitated over and over. But it's also interesting you say that as well. I don't think there's been a period where everybody thinks as individual as they are. Like, people think they're seriously individual right now when they're really not.
Do you think so?
Everyone thinks they're individual. Everyone thinks they're like unique in their style. But do something different, and you'll notice how similar everyone is, because people love to comment on things that are different.
Because I feel like everyone dresses the same.
No, they do. You know? But like, this is my point. Wear something different, people have a comment to make straight away. Like, or they will look. Like, my litmus test is kind of going into a space, getting funny looks. Like, I went to what's this place? What's this podcast? Free Shots Tequila. I went to their thing at Royal Albert Hall, and I was wearing these ISPA Road Warrior shoes, Google them, they're mad, They're like a tabby shoe, but they look insane, And I remember walking around and like just a lot of funny looks, like, what have I got on my foot? But it's like, that's strange to you because you're all looking the same. Do you get what I'm saying?
But how does that make you feel?
I'm fine with it. I'm happy. I love that stuff. Do you know, my biggest ego toxic problem is walking into a room and knowing someone's wearing the same thing I've got on. That annoys me. I'm not gonna lie. That actually annoys me. Like, walking in there, I love walking into a room and somebody not having a clue what I'm wearing. Do you get what I'm saying? Also, it's kind of safe as well because a lot of people are getting robbed these days. So it's like, it's nice talking to a space and nobody's like, your Chanel shirt could be the same price as my Capital, but you just don't have a clue where it is, basically. Do you know what I mean? So I love that kind of thing, like, personally. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, man. And I think as we grow older, I feel like we should be kind of embedded in our own comfortable style, but I guess also as well, people want to fit in. Do you know what I mean? It's easy to fit in.
And it's interesting you say that because when it comes to streetwear, it's like what everyone wears nowadays.
Yeah.
And I feel like the spectrum of what streetwear is has just grown so much larger.
Yeah.
And the thing that's crazy for me, and I will never understand, is the price tag.
Yeah.
It's so expensive for like simple t-shirts, can cost like £300-400.
It's mad. I feel like the pricing now is only seen at a normal place with brands who are grassroots. So if we take Cortez, for example, like I didn't realize until recently when I went on their website that it's actually quite affordable. Yeah, it's obviously the resale that kind of smacks everything at the park, or brands like Figures, like they're pricing things at very good prices. But if you go to the more established streetwear brands, you can't get a t-shirt for £60. Like 60, 70. Yeah, it's probably more the mark. But then also again, it's like you said, streetwear is now a broad spectrum of things. So every brand has an offshoot of streetwear now. Do you know what I mean? Even though they might not have any skin in the game, they've got a graphic tee, they've got some joggers, they've got a hoodie or whatever. But what they're pricing it at is not streetwear prices. Yeah, it's crazy.
What do you think about when brands do that?
Oh man, like it's a really interesting thing, man. I think obviously fashion and like streetwear should always like evolve and grow. But I think if you really want to, like, the crux of it is like you make these lines so that a younger or a less financially like kind of what's the word, someone who hasn't got as much money can tap into your brand basically at a lower level. But like if that lower level was still at like a ridiculous price, like what is the purpose of that? Do you know what I mean? And like I feel like inspiration for fashion always for me starts at like the ground level, and then it like trickles upwards. Personally, unless you're talking about luxe brands who have always like kind of existed in a certain space. But even then, like I said on one show before, it's like a lot of time people take things from luxury brands and bring it into their spaces and like interpret it as well. But when you're creating for the grassroots people and making it expensive, it's kind of redundant.
I feel like they're not catering to the grassroots people.
Yeah, I reckon.
Nah, I feel
someone said this recently. They feel like they're creating it's
their sub. It's like a market within a market.
Yeah. Because you can't get in unless you have a certain price.
Exactly. Yeah. Because let's be honest, the person who works in banking, for example, they might like nice stuff and they want to spend a certain amount on certain types of clothing, right? And they like certain clothes that people see, that people wear, and the rest of it. So then, for them, they might not want to switch brands, or they at least want to have, say, let me have the Dior version of this oversized t-shirt. Let me, because some even like, is it Louboutin? Yeah. They just released some trainers which look like Jordans.
Yeah.
Mad ugly. So ugly.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's a good point. Yeah. So like.
And it's not for people who collect Jordans, are they? They're for people who want to say that.
So the brand is making its own ecosystem.
It's their own ecosystem, and their own people who have like basically, for lack of a better word, fuck you money. And they want to be able to spend it on cool looking items, but also to say that this is from X brand.
Yeah, you know? That's a good point. Yeah.
And it also gives, and from a grassroots perspective, then maybe it gives like the line of aspirational, right? So
that's what it always should be. Yeah, it should always be. I feel like. This is the thing to attain, but now it's like that's not even the thing to attain anymore.
Yeah, because I think there's so many more brands that are like younger, newer, and are doing much better stuff.
Yeah, but definitely.
But then I wonder, like now, because growing up, it was all about brands, compared to what you wear. Now, do you think that shifted more about what you wear, how you wear, rather than the brand that you wear?
Oh, I feel like people, because I feel like brands had a stronger mission and ethos, basically, that you could stand by. Do you get what I mean? Like you knew the kind of marketing aspect that came with like wearing certain brands. Basically, you know how it made you feel.
Yeah.
I feel like things are being released at such a rate where we don't have enough time to even sit with it to know what we're interpreting it as for a specific age group. Whereas like certain items like spoke to an era. So like, you know, if you saw a shot jacket, that was a period, do you get what I'm saying? And it spoke to a certain age group, basically, and they can interpret like what the different colours were, what the different materials were as well. Like it really speaks to that period. But now it's like everything's coming out so fast. Yeah. It's like it doesn't give people time to grow with things or even like adopt it into their. Yeah,
that's a good point, because even when I think about trainers, right, and iconic trainers, so like when we were in school, you knew what an Air Max 90s is, you know what Air Max 97s, you knew the Dunks, you knew this. And now new trainers that come out, how memorable are they?
Yeah.
Like how, no, when I say memorable, and then like how often is it likely where they can define like a specific period of time? If we go with jackets as well, like I remember how old I was when I wanted a shot hoodie and I wanted a shot jacket, or when I was wearing like the Winnie the Pooh bags, like these little things.
It's mad.
So, but now I think you hit a point. It's like there aren't these culturally defined moments of clothing anymore. Maybe style as a whole, but not a timing period where everyone's got this.
It's like kind of too like. Do you remember even those NBA jackets at Foot Locker?
Yeah.
Like that was like it was really a defining moment. Do you know what I mean? It's
the
like
no fear hats.
Yeah. Really, really defining moments. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's tough. I don't know if like the production stuff needs to slow down.
Well, that's the thing, because even with the production stuff, I feel like production is limited. So let's just say
is production limited, or is it demand too high?
Let's say it's both.
Yeah.
Because let's just say, for example, they're going to release this new exclusive trainer or jacket. Now, they won't let it just sell out and become saturated. They just won't, because they want it to be exclusive. Yeah. And then you have the resale market. And even then, people who have these bots, they'll buy like 1,000 pair of these trainers. So no one really has an opportunity to enjoy it. So yeah, maybe there's actually quite a few layers to this, you know?
Yeah, I think sometimes when these conversations happen about like what state of like the market, people have these like one word or like paragraphs that they think summarize. It's not so simple. Yeah, it's really not so simple. I think it's layered heavily. Do you know what I mean? And a lot has changed as well. And I think people are looking at things with the eyes in which we're still in 2000s or 90s. It's different times entirely. Do you know what I mean?
Because with resales, like, what do you see the pros and cons with like limited drops and
I mean, like for resellers, like I think the market is very different for them. Like from what I can see anyway, basically. They are not in 2020 anymore, where everything was like selling for 1,000, 15K or whatever. Now that I think releases are becoming more present, things are going down. And also maybe people just are refusing to pay those prices as well. Me personally, I won't pay resale. Like, I'll pay as close to resale as I can. I can't bring myself to do it. And then I don't know if there's any pros at the moment, man, because it just seems like a market that is open to all in terms of like, if you're entrepreneurial, hats off to you. Do you know what I mean? Like, make your money, and a lot of kids are. Do you know what I'm saying? So you could probably become a reseller now before you can get a job. So I can't fault you. Do you know what I mean? You're making your money legally. You're not hurting anybody. You're doing your thing. In terms of what it does to culture of like fashion or sneakers or whatever it is, it means that anybody who doesn't even care about like those things can get involved as well. Do you know what I mean? So then it makes it super consumer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It just, I don't know, it changes the feel of it completely. But again, like I said, it's a viable way of living. Like for most people, for a lot of people, it's like you are an entrepreneur in a degree if you're doing that as well. It just depends on how you're doing it. If you're using bots to like cheat the system and that is a problem. Do you know what I mean? Because the access that you have, because I always say to people, I'm like, people always look at like bots as like one way. It's like, if you have a bot or you have a way of breaking into a system, getting the shoes is one thing, but like getting the information is a whole other ball game.
What do you mean by that?
Is in like, if you know like the details of like what's to come, or details of company expenditure, or classified information as well. Do you get what I mean?
Insider trading.
There's
a lot of stories about that.
Do you get what I mean? It's mad.
Yeah, there's that woman. Can't even say. Yeah, I can tell you this. Yeah, it's public news anyway. A woman, I think she worked at Nike, senior leader. Her son was like, have you heard the story?
Yeah.
Her son was like buying crazy amount of trainers, selling it. I think she lost her job eventually.
Yeah, I think she was. Yeah, something happened where she's no longer.
Yeah, I mean that's the right thing to do. But the problem with resales for me is that it makes the simple trainers hard to get.
Yeah.
Like I remember I got a notification from the sneakers app that these new varsity red and white dunks online. I was gassed. Woke up, bought it straight away, and it came through. I was excited. Then I started seeing some wrong things happening because usually Nike will deliver with DPD. This time it was with Every, aka Hermes. At the time, I remember I was watching like TikTok videos of people getting stolen, but I was like, mate, I'm a child of God. It's not going to be my portion.
I prayed over it already.
I prayed over it. Yeah. But then I was like, okay, it's been a week. It still hasn't moved. Like it's in the depot. It's in Hermes factory. It hasn't moved. So I'm like emailing them, texting them, and you know it's so hard to get through to anybody.
Yeah.
So it took a good like 3-4 days before someone got back to me, and they said, "Oh, we're gonna do an investigation." Cut long story short, they couldn't find it. Now I told Nike this, and Nike was like, "Oh, we're really sorry. Here's your money back." So they gave me back my money, but I want the trainers,
the products,
because the trainers were now worth like about 170 or 180.
Yeah, you don't want to pay that.
I'm not paying that.
Yeah,
you know. And there's been other times where I've bought trainers, and the bag looks like they've ripped it to see what's inside.
Yeah, man, it's a really treacherous game with like these delivery companies at the moment.
It's mad.
There was a kid, I remember seeing something online about like someone being taken to court or being arrested from UPS.
Wow.
In the States, where like they had a whole operation basically.
Oh yes, I saw that one.
It's pretty mad, yeah. So yeah, again, resale, like I said, resale opens the gate to everybody and anybody, including the people that are delivering your product as well. So in that side, I don't know if there's any pros, like, because it's bad. Like if I order something, I want it to come to my house. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, there is that side. That's mad. And obviously you start seeing those videos of like, people make memes of what people who deliver for Hermes do, like just dashing in the box with it, putting it anywhere, kicking it, and all that kind of stuff or whatever. Looking inside of it before they get it to you. It's mad.
So obviously now you work at Nike, right? Yeah. And you do the live streams of the sneakers show. How has that been in terms of giving you an insight in terms of like how consumers are consuming information?
It's interesting, man. It's super.
And how have you seen your own development over time grow from copywriting to this?
I think it's really interesting. So like I get to see like the back end stuff, like dashboards and that kind of stuff, but I also get to see what people are saying online, basically. So I always rush to Twitter and Instagram to see what people have said after a show, because after time they use a hashtag called Sneakers Live Heating Up to kind of make their comments or whatever, or just you kind of notice on the timeline people are talking about the same thing. After like an hour or so, you'll lose that kind of that bunch of people that are talking about in that period, because your timeline will go and then you have to really search and get annoying. But you learn so much, man. Like you learn how much people know, how much they don't know, how rumors are spread by listening wrongly. You learn how people are tied to certain products, like even culturally as well, and how important it is for them to like hear these stories for the first time as well. I think you kind of learn as well about like people who don't actually care as well, which is something that a lot of brands I think should definitely start paying attention to, because sometimes some consumers you shouldn't listen to. Like I think they're the bad actors, I'd say. Like recently, a guy called Spunto, who has a brand called Born and Raised, passed away tragically, and the conversation came around about, okay, like what's going to happen with these shoes? Are they going to postpone the dates and all this kind of stuff? And I read a comment where someone was like, oh, they're probably going to postpone it, and someone was like, the guy just died, like, why do you care about that? And it was like, I don't care, like I just want the shoes. And it's like,
wow,
that's mad. Do you know what I'm saying? It's crazy. So you get to see all these things, and also you get to connect to people in a positive way as well. Some people really are dedicated to watching, and during lockdown time, it really helped a lot of people get through as well. So then I learned that, repeatable content is an amazing thing. Humanizing content is an amazing thing as well. When you have like a big company like Nike, being able to have someone that is real, that you can see, like sometimes I'll get stopped in the street, like speak to people, give time to them as well, which is always amazing. Or I'll be at events and sometimes people are shocked that I'm even talking to them, or I'll respond in a DM that's like, I didn't think he was going to respond. And it's like, why would I not? If I've got time, I will do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's a great learning. I think I would love to like definitely maybe in the future develop my role into something that helps to understand the consumer behaviors more. Yeah, for sure. And then how that maybe affects how they relate with product as well. So that would be interesting to see how that goes as well. Because there's so much stuff like that just immediately is just like in my face with like the consumer. So yeah, man, would definitely love to like have something along that line. Yeah. Have you seen like habits change over time? You say? Oh man, I feel like there isn't any. I don't think there's communities anymore, man. I think it's hard to say that there's the consumer. What do you mean by that? The consumer doesn't have like a community that it kind of can attach to in terms of like we're into this and sneakers. It's like everyone's super fixated on sneakers and they don't really do anything else outside of that at the moment. You do have some people who are into sports and sneakers as well, but then like bridging that gap of, okay, cool, this is what you stand for, this is what you guys believe in, this is where you guys meet up, you chill and all that kind of stuff or whatever. I don't think you're having those like subcultures anymore. Like, and it's quite evident as well with the way that people are reacting to certain products as well. But again, I think it's a sign of times as well. Like, I don't know if because of things like maybe socials or maybe subcultures are born out of like testing times. Maybe we'll see one because we're in a recession now.
Yeah, that's interesting, because it's like, because it's essentially saying, correct me if I'm wrong, if you have, say, people who play football and they like trainers, then you'll see a particular type of trainers, only footballers would wear them, for example.
Yeah.
Whereas now you might see footballers wear dunks, you see fashionistas wearing dunks, you see Essex people wearing dunks.
Of course,
like for everybody. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good point.
But there isn't like a group of people who are, this is our shoe, this is how we dress. They're varied in their own individual right, but you know that this is their community. I haven't seen that in a long time.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? Like, there is, I don't think there's even, is there emos anymore?
Yeah, they're still there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Maybe they're the lost community then.
Maybe.
Do you know
the last one that's untouched.
Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But even then,
obviously you have like skate community, but skate's like, skate's a sport.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Definitely a community because it's amazing what they have, but it's definitely a sport as well. But things like mods or like, emos and all that kind of stuff or whatever, I don't know if there's like a uniform that people wear that isn't trend led, but just true to what they are into and sentimental with. Like, I don't think that exists right now.
And what about collaborations? Like, what role do you see brands doing?
Man, I feel like it's
because they've always done the big ones.
Yeah.
But looking at, say, what happened with Nike and Cortez. Cortez, rather. I think there's something there.
Yeah, that's what collaboration should always look like. I don't think that always happens. Like, we've seen like what did we see in the last few years? We've seen Balenciaga, Gucci, we've seen Fendi, Fila. Some of these collaborations don't really have a foundation, or like they don't have a narrative that they're telling. There's not something that's being brought from one side and brought to the other. It's like, okay, cool, that's the thing to do, so let's just do it. Let's just do it. Do you get what I'm saying? Before, like, I don't want to say before, but some of the things that I really liked about collaborations was, oh my gosh, I didn't even think these two brands would even like sit together. So it's a surprise. And then also when they do sit together, it's like, okay, cool, we're lending our material to your understanding of cuts, maybe. Do you know what I mean? Or we're lending our storytelling through graphics and design to your, your mills or whatever. Do you know what I'm saying? There's like it was also like always like a nice kind of partnering together. Now those stories aren't happening so much, and it feels like collaboration is like just part of the season that you do.
Money grab as well.
Yeah, it hasn't got anything special about it anymore. But I would say, like, I think we probably will start seeing less of those big high fashion collaborations and start seeing brands looking at the ground level for grassroots brands, because that's what people want to relate to now. Do you know what I mean? That's where it's fresh as well. It's like you don't really want to see any more of these like big name ones. It's already done now. Do you know what I mean? But if you could see somebody who's like you in Paris, like collaborating with a big brand, you're going to be happy for them. Do you know what I mean? And if you watch their journey, you're like, shit, he got there. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you want to applaud that. Do you get what I'm saying? Or like, even there's skateboard brands in Nigeria now. I've seen one of them, I think they teased the T with Stussy, and I was like, that's hard. Do you get what I'm saying? Because where are you skating in Nigeria? Like, it's mad.
And that's, I like that, because you're giving everyone a platform.
Yeah.
And everyone can collaborate.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that I really like. But I don't know, man. A lot of these big brands, like, doing the collaboration thing, it's a bit weird now, man. Like, I feel like there's a role that they play that they've forgotten, maybe. Do you know what I mean? And now they're like, they're scrambling a lot of the time now. It's crazy.
So I've got a couple quick fire questions for you, yeah? So for someone who is struggling to, say, find their originality or their uniqueness, or to have more confidence, what word of advice would you give them?
You got to find what you love to do, and you got to find what you love to do without, you'll do it without getting paid. Obviously, always think about money, like, because I hate when people are like, I don't care about money, shut up. Like, you wake up and money's coming out your account. Yeah. So find what you love to do immediately. I think that's the crux of where you will find your originality. Find what you like to do without shame. Like, you can say it and do it anywhere. Do you know what I mean? Like you're not wavering for it at all. I think once you start questioning or trying to explain what you like too much, maybe that's not for you, but something that comes naturally to you. It might sound silly, it might sound small, but that is what is for you, basically. And then once you've clocked that, start to nurture it, like get better at it, become an expert at it. Do you know what I mean? I think someone said to me, or something that's been said, like hard work will go further than talent.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like we've seen, even in the UK, for example, like there's some rappers who have gone past some people who we thought were going to be like the champions in the charts, basically. But because of consistency and hard work, they're at the top. They might not be the best rappers, but they've been consistent for a long time. And you have to respect that. And that beats talent every single time. So yeah, I think, be a master of whatever you love to do and what you can do without shame.
Awesome. One piece of advice that you wish you heard earlier?
You should be working in fashion. I wish I heard that much earlier. I think, that and also starting off something just on my own accord, because sometimes you feel like you need to have all the pieces together. It's like, before I start writing, I need to be able to write for a magazine, or before I start designing, I need to be able to work for a clothing brand, or I need to have money to like actually get the pieces together. It's like, start designing, make a lookbook. Yeah. Maybe one of your friends like is good at like pattern cutting, you don't even know, basically. Start speaking to them, like collaborate with your mates, like, do you know what I mean, at a low level. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I think I would have taken that advice of like go into fashion, like, yeah.
And if you were to do a collaboration, one sneaker line, who would you collab with?
I'd definitely do Nike, obviously. I would always say a 95, but that's too easy because I love that shoe and I feel like that's just like a London shoe. But I would collaborate specifically with the ISBA team. Like, they are the most forward thinking.
ISBA?
Yeah, so it's improvise, scavenge, protect, adapt. That's what it stands for. But it's a team in Nike, the most forward thinking, futuristic kind of stuff I've seen in any market for apparel, and also, for apparel and sneakers, I'd say, for sure. The designers are incredible, and I think some of the stuff that they're doing will definitely change the scope of what innovation looks like for Nike, and it is changing it. I would definitely work on something with them. Like, it's next level. I didn't go to Paris, and I think that's where a lot of people saw things for Caesars Ahead with fashion and everything. But Nike had a showroom, and I keep being told about a jacket that turned into a tent, which is crazy.
That sounds mad.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? Just things like that. So yeah, I would definitely work with ISPA. That section of Nike is incredible.
Yeah, I forgot to even ask you this question. Like, what would you say are your main edges as a content creator?
I'd say originality, and my authenticity to just be me. A lot of times people cannot be themselves, and everyone's putting on a show. Do you know what I mean? And I definitely feel like I have a tone of voice that simmers people and makes them feel at ease. Yeah, for sure.
Ladies, man.
But yeah, I think I've noticed that in terms of like, we went to Copenhagen recently, and we sat down with like a lot of skaters for Copenhagen Opens, like one of the biggest skate tournaments in the year. And a lot of people like don't feel comfortable talking in front of camera or whatever. By the time the camera's on, they've forgotten they've even said that. Because I'm mindful that, okay, cool, I need to just make you feel comfortable. So let's just talk about whatever you want to talk about, and also listen as well. So by the time the camera's on, they're like, oh shit, it's done. Like, cause like, it's calm. Do you know what I mean?
Cool. So yeah, where can people find you?
Will Stowe HOS on everything. I've got Instagram mainly, Twitter I'm there as well. I'm only just scoping stupid things that people are saying. Twitter's a very interesting place. I'm on TikTok, but again, mainly just scoping people. But yeah, Instagram's a place. I don't have a date for it, but I will start a newsletter soon. It'll probably be called House of Stowe or Will Stowe HOS, but you'll get to know a bit more about like things that I like, and then kind of things that I'm into, and then my comments on like things that happen as well. I think like maybe sometimes characters on Twitter are not enough, or Instagram doesn't allow for like long form and all that kind of stuff. So a newsletter is like, I can really cultivate a community and like speak to them whenever I want.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
be the first person.
You gotta hold me to that, because I say a lot of things sometimes and I don't actually get to it. So yeah.
Nah, you got this, man.
Definitely.
Appreciate the time, bro.
Nah, thank you, bro. Appreciate you coming.
Cool.